to be muted.
We are on live.
Okay, we are live.
That's why there's a place that you can say private. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. There'll be a difference in the time because God has done it that way. So wherever you are, greetings from Potato Radio, and I welcome Dr. Daniel and Dr. Habib or Saifiti.
Kiba.
Well, I think Dr. Boateng, you are on mute.
Yes. Yeah.
So welcome to Pasito Radio.
wobɛtumi atie azitore ɛwɔ tune anaa modern Ghana www.azitoradio.co.uk. Azito Radio, we keep you alive.
Oh, sorry. Are we all set?
Yeah.
Acculturation and health, and that's what we're going to talk about. So tonight or this morning, we are going to talk about. We are always doing this thing so that our health in the Europe. That's what I would say that we that live in the diaspora, when we come here, our health. I mean, there's so many health issues that we have that it's amazing that we don't really know the reason why. So that's the reason why these two doctors have the time to educate us. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Tabuatin, now you are going to tell us all about this acupuncture. I mean, it's broken, so if I'm not really saying it well, pardon me with that. I've tried my best.
No
So you're going to
problem.
tell us
No
what
problem. Then you want me to start with what it is, and then you take it up from there.
Okay.
can start.
That's fine.
Yeah. Because that's what I did for my research. All right. So good morning, viewers. When we say acculturation, it seems like a big word, but I want people to focus on the word culture. It comes from that word culture. And for those of us and we're going to be missing the language, right? Tree and in English, a local dialect and English, the culture. And for those of us from Ghana, when back in basic school, when you are taught what is culture, if you can remember, culture is the way a group of people live. So when we say acculturation, that just refers to what happens to people, a group of people, when they move, when they migrate. So it's the cultural changes that occur when a group of people move from one place to another. Okay, that is what we mean by acculturation. Simply put, cultural changes. And when we say cultural changes, it could be anything.
Cultural changes.
What's the main kind of Mansio?
Cultural changes.
And I'm sure I say we are acculturation. It's gonna be breaking it down. And then any cultural changes. And see, and Daniel Becker Adientia here, but let me explain the concept and as we go on. Researchers are who said there's a link between enone health. But in from what study, they've studied what the process of acculturation is. Now, more moody kind study, they I'll be mixing the language because today Daniel also is a Ghanaian, so I don't have to translate everything, speak English and speak my dialect. Earlier researchers tried to explain this process, and then their views on it was that when people migrate, they just adopt. They leave their culture and then just adopt whatever new stuff they find in the new environment. So they adopt the language, they adopt the food, they adopt everything in the new environment. But recent research and a recent evidence shows that is not exactly what happens. There is a researcher, a friend of Berry, but he's developed what we call Berry's model. To try and explain this concept of acculturation. And so I'll briefly talk about it. Into acculturation now. What are the processes? How does it happen? We're breaking into four different types. Integration. Integration, it means that when people move from Ghana, if we move from Ghana and we come to Europe, we adapt certain things in Europe, and then we also keep some of our cultural stuff, you know. So we don't abandon our culture. By pick some of the stuff in the culture, the new environment, and then we also keep some of our old habits. That is what we call integration. The second one, your friend assimilation. Assimilation in there in Kofoba, not abandon whole culture. Okay, so when people move into a new environment, they just abandon their old, you know, culture. So whatever is language, is religion, or whatever, and then they pick on everything in the new environment. So that's another way acculturation to me happen. You know, integration, assimilation. I'm trying to break it down so people get it, as we go on. Now, the third one is what we call separation. Separation, when sometimes when you have people migrating to a new environment, you realize that maybe they are not very welcome in the new, this is just an example, they are not very welcome in the new environment. And so they decide to not take anything from the new environment. They will not pick their food, they will not pick their language, they will not pick their culture, and then they will just stick to their culture. It's when you have to tell who then go for people who are to kind of about they don't, it's as if they are living back where they came from. You know, they create an environment because they are fairly separation. They separate themselves from the new environment, you know, and then they live in their own world that is very similar to where they came from. And on our friend of separation, that is also another process of acculturation. Now, the final one, our friend of marginalization. Oh no, this group of people, no, they neither adapt to the new environment nor keep their culture. So what they just come and then they are marginalized.
They are just in between.
They are just there. So this is in summary what we mean by acculturation. Now, it is important for researchers or public health workers to understand this because it has a lot of implications on health. And that is why we study it. If you're doing research on migrants or people of African descent living in the diaspora, acculturation plays a very big role. And that is why we wanted to talk about it. So Daniel and I did some research and looked at some of these concepts and how it is related to health. And that is what we want to discuss today. Yeah, so cultural changes as a result of migration is what we refer to as acculturation. Yeah. But having said that, my research na me Ghana for na me study Ghana for na me study me who there a lot of them now were integrated. You kind of integrated and Ghana for no ba you keep some of your culture no na you adapt to from host country no into adapt to everything to your culture and you keep it na yes bebre na dam na study na and that's what we found with most of the Ghanaians and then study it was Ghanaians in London, Amsterdam, Berlin, and also those three cities no when you're picking from your study on I'll hand it to Daniel now.
Okay. Thank you, Eba Medase. I also greet all the viewers, and then I'm happy to be back here again to discuss about the health of African migrants in Europe. Now, Ibebi said why is it important? I didn't know who here say you sing about acculturation. Now, the mechanic say for the past few years, you see about migration, send nipa to kwan aba abrochi any apomuden honsem. Now, you be who adie mienu bi. I have very, very important. When we say the burden of akumayare who adeswa eso migrants Ghana for ya babruchi. You who ade mienu bi say yen yare no what de toto o ma ya bo o monten abete na o monten no ho a ye de no wo soro sen omo. What's also the toto omo mo fie ni so a yes also wo soro sen omo mo fie. But yes, I couldn't finish. It's a baby said that the disproportionate burden. Our risk is higher than the host and the home populations. It's and I about migration as senior Dr. Hiba came about very yesterday and he said because of culture Dr. Hiba kind quite the papa so etna because of quite the papa so etna you say behavior is suban and a suban so ade ba ko a affect akomayare ho nsem say na nyina ni me say about if you say ka yedidie say na be exercise George nom ne ade smoking and sanom no we suban sa suban ene your culture it is ade bi wo affect your culture it say your culture sa ade no nti acculturate na cultural change no sa suban nipa ne te Ghana na ne de te sen oba abrochi akoye sen ne didie e wo Ghana na te sen oba abrochi akoye sen nti yesu yehu se nipa no wasesem na wo se Dr. Hiba ka say ye hwe no Ghana for bebre no omo integrated omo kofa bi na omo je bi question is de na omo kofa ye na de na omo jae yenim se se yetumi hwehwe sa ne omem ehu a ebo se sa because wo hwe ma yehu se Ghana for omo Germany for instance omo smoky pa let's Ghana from UK, Ghana from Holland, and Memano, and the Ghana from Ghana. So, most smoky sing more Ghana. And I was a Ghana from Bomba, but Channel Musmoky is any cultural change was a the culture. No, I call smoking, because smoking, no, I was through our British in Ghana, or better, fair, no. But we know about British, I feel no about a bicycle. Ghana no car bicycle on 90 from, but Miss about Britain and two bicycle. My sister, me culture, no, I'm a Pichican, I be two bicycle, or British. And they healthy.
There is some and your bicycle, no, your tongue factory near why.
The other one is a way to be the say, one can better be cheap. Indeed, and about one was a son into environment, and also play a role in our culturation, cultural change, That son you moving, and I'm saying a fun lifestyle, and then I say you because cardiovascular disease, now you who say a was through a half one almost in a fear, nay, or more hano. If you say a day, neck of a buy, and a young questions idea, and I just culturation study, by Senate Dr. Hiba at same time. Wait, my years, who quite away first so, and yes, you saw a pudding and a harrison. Yeah.
Doctor, I kind of said, "Still can't baby, I said, into Shanshoni be very akomayari. The work I can do, I didn't just say, you shall go 18 minutes, and a massadi to me, Bassa."
The money to me a person I can say Nina Akujina lifestyle subino because I mean the kind chile akomayari anymore.
Good.
Because the idea for the meantime. Like I say cardiovascular diseases are any idea. A adibia de area but I was saying
And I didn't so
cardio akoma and a vascular as a the moja effeminate so the blood vessels and akoma and the akomano and the moja effeminate immune area affects an human immune if it is a cardiovascular disease.
To one on Tiasia, and I feel what goes as I can win the account.
Nina no the farabai. As a Caraba, if you so the farabai, a DB friend say atherosclerosis. Because atherosclerosis a simple and new manner and motor feminine vessels, it to me block it. A DB friend say, and what do no many fat it to me build it up a woman, Mr. Dano, but I remember the about cholesterol, LDL and HDL. Bako the anya papa no etumi teta saa ade na moja fam na afet esikwan and they hypertension kind of hypertension eba nti saa nneoma wey saa ade na esikwan no emma moja no eda say entumi nkoyie and as afet e besikura na say enkoyie o say si o and then dey saa ade e fe cardiovascular disease eba the betum say ba say eba na saa na afet asay blood vessel no kra blood vessel ni bi so enenam yakum ye kidney enenam ya dwenem ye name nti bibi damage bi wo kidney ma affect blood vessel na wo kidney ni mu no nti so betumi e de sanso abanti ade bia affect your blood vessel ana say affect your command bia no ene ne ya fancy cardiovascular disease now ye woman types bebre meka mainly about 3 be one simple but coronary heart disease. And then we kind of heart attack na ya baako. But you mumi ensa. Your baako aye angina. Angina no boza say wote pain bi e wo wakoma ho. And ya bra mogya no entumi enko heart muscles no mu ye. And you heart attack when mogya na afedi esikura no say heart attack esi a tena ne baako na because mogya no entumi enko na akoma ho. The funny say sa ade e funny say atherosclerosis the mogya no na mu kwa akoma no ho no emu esia ma fe dia block ya mogya no entumi enko akoma na say bibi esi na blood vessels na apai wo baby afi mogya no enwunugu entumi enko akoma no ho a afi de mogya no enko bi na we heart attack your heart failure and they akoma na kasa na onia ho betumi and they
I don't understand. Obisa I'm enjoying. I don't understand. Nti em say you be fra kakra. And then them say
yeah, you brave people for no. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So so it's either the chest pain, which is angina, or the heart attack when there's no blood flowing to the heart, or when we have a heart failure. So these are what we call the coronary heart disease. Now, one most common one, and I said the entire is stroke. Stroke also a cardiovascular disease. Now, stroke, and also a adrenal die. It's a car heart disease, coronary heart disease, heart attack. And yes, a mojane enkwa komano. Now, mojane enkwa jinin when there is blockade to the brain, or when there is restriction in blood flow to the brain, that is stroke. Now, stroke, and also you best 3 types. There were ischemic stroke, and we mojane we see the coin say enkwa adrenal, and then the AC into blockade be a ho nti akate mojana enko adwene mu ene hemorrhagic stroke ene when veins na wa adwene asem ma enyunu moja afim so there's bleeding in around the brain mojana asase akwa adwene ho no rupture bi abaso bebi apae e vessel nti mojana akwa adwene mu enyunu gu fam enyunu gu na adwene mu ana adwene ho ene hemorrhagic stroke ene work ba ku bi ene a simple one and like I say mild one. And I'm for 10 years. Was a joke I can if I do a Vietnam and I sang a channel and a mild stroke. And I said mini stroke and he said Mojano into me ye. But it's a secret and it's a winner stroke and casa, ischemic stroke or hemorrhagic stroke. And they see over to me at once. Which and I say be a point I'll be doing want to be ensign and bank and I said be a general I feel a general to me. It's anyway about stroke. Now, the two also peripheral. I can say peripheral. Ye nine only in sanum. Also, you'll be a aneurysm near the blockade because of blood clot to be to me. Also, most of any pan of 109 on to me financially or to pay on a name. And also, a cardiovascular disease now be. But in I can't have my Yama. You was also come. Yes, the mojan to me call name because cardiovascular here. A dear be a simoja quine, man into me call when you baby no a cajon. It is to me call name and to me call same or fingers in the morning idea. Also, most of 9 and yet Juma, and then yes stroke will be an end stroke, then no year peripheral artery disease. And here in Tina call name one sano, a honor program about home, and yes a stroke per se. And the last one here, aortic disease. The aorta is the biggest blood vessel that pumps blood to the body from the heart. And then in science, moja in the moja film, because see womb, the moja free a command home, a cop in the Diana can. And also, Timabi Bahuana say, see, and also bit maybe if I say aortic disease, and I say aortic disease, and also cardiovascular disease. And see, Nina about moja air transport because moja no, imuna oxygen. Imagine say brain no a year jumano, and then say the so baby says cells, so the function of the cells, it depends on oxygen. It is a oxygen amba. So oxygen, mujana bana oxygen amba problem aba. It was there was a time be popular king be and as a prince be a avalanche be took share snow be a say on your brain damage because now oxygen no freezing now mujana into me and corner, mujana into me and corner dream. So oxygen into me and drew. Nti management na afede enye dwuma biom nti bibi e besi kwan a emma moja no enko no a problem na boja na block crash so and put in asem say so when there's blockade or there's restriction of blood flow to any part of the body, and the brain is very important organ. It is when there's no blood flowing there, we have stroke. When there's no blood coming to the heart attack. When it's not going to the peripheries, peripheral aneurysm, and all sort of cardiovascular disease related to the peripheries. And say lifestyle I can want me to acculturation. And no, I want to so I was saying, because they can't be say it's a idea be say atherosclerosis. And I was a doctor about betting or ham baby say a duane and one a woman. And this is a funny about broche. Let's say be a banadian in the doors until dear and one woman. And if it's any ball form out to be dear with dear a acculturation. What's the sound with culture? What's the sound with Diane? And then I was saying, I'm not Edison, so to be ever in Tina or come home, Tina or Junimuno, and Makakonya. To win a fossil Emma acculturation, echo influence health, a go through behavior, a course, and I'm Subaimu and echo. Subana Diana Wafa, Papa, and as a Wafa Bonnet, about Bettina Butchery, and it's never yes, Suya, Konya. The cultural change influence health. So it's about what aspect of the change are we talking about? If it is good, you're going to have impact on your health, good health. If it is worse, eating fatty foods, less exercise, then it could lead to atherosclerosis and then lead to cardiovascular diseases.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to what Daniel said. And as much as we are talking about acculturation and lifestyle, we also need to remind our viewers that risk factors, it's largely lifestyle, but then there are also some non-modifiable factors. So usually, if we say modifiable factors and non-modifiable factors. Now, non-modifiable ones, age and gender. Research actually there, usually, depending on your gender or your age, as you grow older, you have a higher risk of some of these conditions that we are talking about, the lifestyle conditions. It's the same with gender. With male and female, Daniel, who is more at risk? With obesity, we know a lot of women are, but I don't know about cardiovascular disease. Males are. So those ones, they are non-modifiable because are more at risk. So being a male, your age, as you grow older, you become more susceptible to getting
I think it's a menopausal age or menopausal. I think it's a menopausal physiology, and my mother a little bit at risk, but generally, males are seen to be at risk.
More a hand. So, and only a friend, non-modifiable, because I know only really, you can't really control your gender. You can't change from male to female. You can't do anything about your age. But then the modifiable ones, largely your lifestyle. And like I said, a lot of these conditions, mostly lifestyle, which includes what Dr. Watson has mentioned, diet, which we can't emphasize enough. Before I end, I'll talk about the specific dietary behaviors that have changed. But diet, smoking, physical inactivity, sedentary lifestyle, all these things together are what we call the modifiable ones, because indeed you can modify these. If you work on these, if you eat healthy, you prevent all these things we are talking about, like exercise and all those things, you decrease your risk to having these conditions that we are talking about. Okay, so should I just go on and talk about some of the dietary things, because Daniel already touched on it. It's dietary acculturation. My part there, Miss Mayezi can explain, changes in your behaviors and our culture when you move. The dietary acculturation, Daniel, as part of our research, we worked on that and tried to study Ghanaians, by comparing Ghana for Wokrum, Ghana for Ghana, where were the changes? Okay, but before I talk about the results, earlier researchers were developing a model, BBI what tried was explaining BBORC. So one of them was the Cocteau model. The researcher now developing the Cocteau model. She tried to explain what changes occur using research amongst the Turkish. I think she was a Turkish woman herself. And she wanted to find out what changes happens, or what are the dietary changes that occur when people move from their home countries to high income countries. And then she came with this concept where she divided or classified foods into three. This woman classified it into three: Ofreko staples, Ofreko complementary foods, and Ofreko accessory foods. So staples, as you know, your usual staples, our cassava, our plantain, our fufus and all that. And then the middle one, which is the complementary foods, here protein foods. So the fish, the meat, the vegetables are complementary foods. And then the accessory foods, something that just enhances the taste of our food. So, ketchup, mayonnaise, the sweets, the desserts, all these things are called accessory foods. In fact, okay. All of them are called accessory foods. And according to this woman, when people move from especially from low income countries to high income countries now, they do not change their staple foods. It takes a very long time, decades, and sana once some more staple foods. Staple foods today, cassava, the fufu, the akpele, and all that. We don't change that. That's what she observed, and that is what she uses to explain dietary acculturation. But then when it comes to complementary foods, yes, it's sane kakra. After a while, you too miss sane kakra, and I'll explain that into details. Accessory foods, because most of the times we don't see that as linked to our identity. Okay, so research has shown that a lot of people, when they move, we still want to maintain our identity. And for an Ashanti man like Daniel, when he wants to maintain his identity, I'm sure you want to keep your fufu, so he will keep his fufu. For a Ga person, you want to keep your kenke. Okay, so in your head, if I eat my kenke and fufu, I'm still keeping my Ghanaian identity. However, they make a lot of changes to the accessory foods. Accessory foods need to be with the BB that needs a bit of sauce. They will add a lot of sauce. These sauces, but because we've moved here, then that increases. Okay, so that was her observation. That is what she developed as explaining dietary acculturation. So we tested this, Daniel and I and a few others, tested this among the Ghanaians to also find out, is this what is really happening? And indeed, we realized that for the people that we studied, yes, a lot of people maintain their staple, and then the complementary foods, but they increase the accessory foods. Now, accessory foods, this is the culprit when you're talking about these lifestyle diseases. These are the unhealthy things, mostly. These are the unhealthy things when you're talking the cakes, the sweet foods, and all these things. Okay, these are the things we need to take note of when we are talking about lifestyle diseases. And this is what research has shown that increases when people move to high-income countries. Now, the complementary foods, meat, fish, and all those things. Our study also showed that generally, most people moved from a fish-based diet to a meat-based diet. And when you're back home, a lot of people tend to eat more of the fishes, but when they move here, then the meat increases. Meat, and also, so research actually, the excess intake of meat is associated with all these conditions we are talking about. Meat has saturated fat. It has so many other things that easily baby. In fact, there's a limit, recommendation in the about maximum 90 grams for meals and 70 grams. Last time I was here, I explained that is just about having this amount of meat for the day. Now, if you increase that to 100 grams per day, it is associated with about 15% increase in some of these lifestyle diseases. Every day, meat is in the every day. It puts you at risk to lifestyle conditions like the cardiovascular diseases, like all these things we are talking about. Okay. Now, what else? Fish. Now, another thing I wanted to say before I forget, because some people would have come from a place. More context, it was difficult to access some of these things. And as part of our culturation, we study the context before people move. When they come here, they tend to now just eat in excess. Okay, you're coming from a place and not a meat in a mouth. It's what bahano man na face meat in zan was the what can then strat the namno so that part na yet to for them wounds, chicken worries no worries, the chicken with the skin because only tasty better. No, frying all these things, Nina, contribute to some of these things. Daniel, do you want to add something before I continue?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to talk, just add brief to the acculturation. I'm just having a little discussion with Dr. Gertrude, who is also worked a bit on this, and she pointed me something which is also very important. The culture of the people. She's listening. She's supporting us. The background. So she pointed me about the culture of the people, ethnicity, identity. Maybe any panel free no. Any day or GD. So the perception of diseases, what we think is good for us, what we've identified ourselves with. So naturally, for instance, someone from Ghana don't believe in cycling or don't believe in exercise, So when we come here, the Caucasian that might eat fast food, but that is coupled with exercising, cycling or something like that. But the Ghanaian don't believe in exercising, comes here and then will not cycle. So there's something called ingrained culture. There's a mix-up of all that. And that's what talking about. What do we keep and what do we lose? It boils down to our culture. So that's why sometimes it's important to go back and study the culture of the people, their perception. If we think that this is not for Ghanaians and therefore we don't do it, even if it is healthy, we are not going to do it because that is not me. That's not what I'm used to, and that is a cultural identity, And that is why people. That's what determines what aspect of the culture they are going to keep and what they are going to. So, Dr. Hiba says something that Daniel Pefufu. So probably I'll not be eating too much. But I'll say Sundays I have to eat fufu because Sana my name is also me fufu. I was working with one man somewhere and he eats fufu every morning. Every morning. It's an Asante and that's what he likes to do. The baby name quite when Kwana do not pan no fufu no dia tum. A fire and some so that is it. Yes. Yes, So
talking about your culture, you reminded me of something. So when I studied in Belgium. So Belgium is like the Netherlands, where more car bicycles be raised. So there was one of my colleagues from Ghana. Okay, Miss bicycle car won't collaborate, but in Ghana, it's bicycle riding is not a thing like here in Europe. Now bicycle can to bicycles. If you can't even buy, you can rent. You always say no the car. She needs a car to go for lectures, and yes, she would go on the tram. There's also that option to take a tram. So you see that mindset, say status, card, then you are from a wealthy home. Bicycle now be a professors, big parliamentarians, kebino. You want a car to go for lectures.
I was bicycle now your lifestyle.
Oh yes, and it's a good thing. They really adapted to that system, which is healthy as a. Let me tell you what happened with this friend. So at the time, there was your friend is saying when all of them are not working, your friend saying, so they went on strike. All the transportation, now, how do you go for lectures then? You want to buy nature no man elect because lectures. You wear a bicycle, also buy you refuse to learn because as far as you are concerned, that is demeaning. So and only acculturation adapting the healthy things, then adapting the good things about improving your lifestyle. Okay, and then drop the unhealthy anything that is unhealthy. Let's drop it and pick the healthy stuff that people have here. Let me just finish on the diet. Then I know there was something I was going to mention. Processed meats. Even though I talked about fresh meat, processed meat and so lots of research has shown so your ham, your bacon, your kind of thing, sausages. It has it's linked to cardiovascular diseases and a lot of these lifestyle diseases we talk about. It's it down.
What about children eating that?
What about what?
Children eating ham and those things if they are young, not like every day, but if children has been eating, is there any complication?
Of course, so I've already mentioned as you grow, risk higher. It's we're more careful. We've mentioned that, but healthy eating is something you need to incorporate from in collaborating. As much as the children risk lesser, you want to put them on a trajectory. Because I think some people find it difficult to change, and they say that is what our parents have taught us, and we have become used to a certain lifestyle, and it's so hard for us to change. What you say? As much as more important, you don't want to start unhealthy behaviors because they are young, because then it will be difficult for them to change. As even type 2 diabetes, which was higher amongst Penifone. Recent evidence just say about down, people, younger people are getting some of these conditions. It is no longer the over 40s and the menopausal ages. Okay, so yes, by all means, we always say moderation. But don't eat it like every day. You eat it sparingly. Eat this sausage, once or twice a month. Maybe that's okay. But focus on the healthy ones, because and will build your body for to prevent a COVID-19 by. Say we all learned about how or compromise the immune system affect you. But we pray against it. But we need to build ourselves. Also, you're protecting your home, and that's the only way. I shall say check your lifestyle. Shall say from Encolano. May me mom sausage every day. No, it's not going to help them. Let's focus on healthy eating right from childhood. Yeah.
Okay. I think
Azitoradio live. I will tune in. www.azitoradio.co.uk. Azitoradio, we keep you alive.
Yes, Azitoradio keeping you alive with this educative. So please share the video. Save somebody. If you are share the video, you are educating somebody as well. Don't let us be selfish. Let us also educate, as these doctors have dedicated their time to share with us on Azitoradio. Yes, Mr. Boate.
Yes, it's a good question to ask about the children. And then Dr. Hiba rightly said, few studies that we have
Okay, back today.
Martin Luther King said, "Can Dr. Araba speak her fancy dialect, please?"
Yes, so as you rightly said, the issue about children and the rising prevalence of obesity and diabetes is of great concern. CDBIA was South African and saying about hypertension in children. It shows that hypertension starts rising in children very early. Now, acculturation in children in Europe born to Africans is a great problem. It's a major issue. So we're talking about acculturation. I think we cannot leave the children out because they are the second generation, and they are torn in between the culture of their parents and then the culture of the host population. A great problem. And sometimes you cook food that you think is healthy for your children, but they won't eat. Come again?
That was a big topic on its own.
Yes. So they decide on what they want to eat against what you prepared for them. Probably what you might have prepared is not healthy. So it depends on whether they are going to adapt a healthy lifestyle or they are going to adapt an unhealthy lifestyle, or they will grow to adapt what you have been giving to them at home. And sometimes when the generations are two, it becomes worse. When there is a grandparent, a mother, and then a grandchildren. You see, my men and grandparents want a choice of food. Now the mother wants to make sure that our baby healthy. And sometimes those children, there's a study that shows that my grandchildren are almost torn between parents and grandparents, almost tend to overeat. Because grandparents feel said, or somebody didn't know how to, but the mother feels they are eating too much. And then the question is, what is the choice of the children? And then it's something that is endemic within the Black population, because just say in Holland, they say where I live, we have a lot of African migrants living here. So whatever lifestyle they pick is something that is endemic amongst us. So they are not really exposed to the Caucasian lifestyle, because even the school that they go is more of African and then the other migrant population who are dominant in the schools. So it's a very big issue. And then there's something that, as you said, we need to have time and then go to the communities and educate them. Because sometimes, because we give birth to the children here in Europe, controlling them becomes a little bit of problem. Unlike control that we have in Ghana, what we can do here, but we should be able to help them and take them through healthy eating, because obesity is really rising in African migrant children in Europe. It's rising in Africa, and among the migrant children in Europe, it's also rising. And that's something that could spell doom for them as they grow, because they are really exposed to a lot of cardiovascular disease in the future. So I think that's what I'll add to the children. And then one other thing I'll talk about is alcohol. You know, in the sense of not just alcohol, but toxic. There's a alcohol as a hard substance. You know, Ghanaians are mostly used to appetition, which is very hard. So even when they come to Europe, when there's a program, when they go to parties and all that, they still want to make sure that they've taken the one that they are used to, the one that is cultural. So that is more of identity. That's more of nutrition issue. So they want to keep that hard one. So even if they serve them these mild alcoholic drinks, they still want to have something that is the strong ones. That is what they believe. This is Ghanaian, you know. And at the time that they take, because all our programs in Europe are done in the night. Our funerals are in the night, because we go to work, we are tired, and therefore we push the programs to late night. And that is when they go and take these alcoholic drinks, the hard ones. They go home and sleep. And it's having, and then the next morning they wake up, they go and continue this hard day's work once again. So the body is always under constant stress. And acculturation and stress, I think we didn't even mention that, but that's a key issue that we should have touched on. Acculturation, there's something we call acculturative stress. So stress are every acculturation moment. When you want to adapt and you cannot adapt, you have stress. So my person can't Dutch casa. I want to speak Dutch, but when I go to work, they speak Dutch to me. I'm stressed, you know. So I'm not able to adapt the culture very well. I feel I'm discriminated against. And all these leads to stress. So you realize that Ghanaians in UK do a little bit better because it's English, but in health-wise compared to Ghanaians in Netherlands, from what we found out, Ghanaians in UK do a little bit better, and probably because they are much better to integrate than we have here because of the and then if it comes to work, they are doing much better jobs than what we have in Netherlands.
Because of the language barrier.
Yes. And then even healthcare. Here, Oko Hospital, are we going to explain yourself to the GP and all that? And all this creates stress for us. And also unreported health cases, because we don't want to go and then embarrass ourselves. We can't talk at that. Even if we talk, we are not given the assistance that we need. So perception of being not treated fairly and all that. See, acculturation addressing here, Ghana 40 years here. We need to understand where we are. Sometimes people come from Ghana with misperception about how things are. Hey, and they would do when you money is on the trees. You're going to pluck money from trees. And then people think that my co-invest to Ghana, when they come, they don't find work to do. They don't get what they are looking for. How will we feel? Imagine the stress and then the anxiety that comes on such a person. And that stress sometimes tend to smoking and intake of alcohol and all lifestyle that are unhealthy. It's something that is a really big issue for migrants. And then we need time to probably in our churches, in our social groups, to be able to try to counsel people on what we experience and how we can really live our lives, choose the healthy ones to be able to avoid all these health risks. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Daniel Boateng, all the way from the Netherlands. And now Oniye Betutri and Komwe. And the doctor, and then I am very, very tight. But even the tightness, he had the time to be with us. And the doctor, I didn't age your crown, and Rebecca, Dr. Araba, no, they are twasuka crackers, and there was a doctor, example, baby for Frontino.
Okay, what's sorting it out?
But we have about 60 minutes left, so we can exhaust 60 minutes to the 1 hour. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do I leave to you, Dr.
Poverty can also be a driving factor in the obesity crisis in the African community. Social exclusion and inequality are serious issues facing African community in Europe. Because he's a social worker, so I think he's experienced so many things in the African community. Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dr. Hiba, back maybe about late night eating.
Okay, you will need to go back to some of the problems. Okay, I thought we had settled finished with that, but yeah, I didn't touch on late night eating as well. And yes, Agnes herself also when you gave that fufu example, it still are some of these things. Yeah, acculturation. Late night, we realize that unlike Ghana, where only few people shift work, over home how you realize that in bebree night maybe I wanted to speak fancy. Eko Ghana, you realize that nipa kakra bi na where shift jobs, but eba abrochia nkofo bebree where shift jobs. Inti binom night jobs. In fact, obi o ha nedwuma ye ni na ye night. Inti it makes it difficult for them to adapt healthy eating habits, because then if you another or very late no about na hot them Daniel ka obi wo ho a ni fufu no those in every day ehunti baba bi fe dwuma baba na aza asa no abet na ho no wa ta ni fufu anane banku with lots of enam ehunti all these things it's been shown that or affect or it's associated with cardiovascular diseases, with all these other lifestyle diseases here ka ho maybe. Okay, another thing I'm going to make in chin salt. We can't talk about cardiovascular diseases. A lot of evidence, research has established the links between excess salt intake and cardiovascular diseases and hypertension. Okay, when there is in chin baby, but the question is, what are the sources of inchin? Because obi one manage and there semanfa inchin bebre and coming by then I'm fine. Recommendation at the moment from WHO when you're there every day, the maximum salt you are supposed to have is 6 grams. 6 grams here, 1 teaspoon. That is what you should have in a day. Now that 6 grams, it is not the salt you add to your food in contain. Salt, UK Hano. Research traders, the 75% of the salt we take, it doesn't come from what we use in cooking in the kitchen or what you add on your table. There's salt in almost everything we buy. There's salt in bread, there's salt in ketchup, there's salt in every product, almost every product out there that we buy. Into without even adding salt to your food, you can choose to say the whole day, stew, and you still go beyond the salt you are supposed to have in a day. But a lot of the time, they are not incorporating and realize they think that it is only when you taste salt in the food and an salt room. There are so many things you don't really taste the salt, but salt will be brave. So babies are there. So what do we do? Given that there's a lot of salt in the products already. And so what I tend to tell people is that we can't do much about the salt now, our products now yet on bread. Most of us can't bake bread, so we have to buy it. A lot of the stuff we buy has the salt already. So let us stop putting salt in the stuff we cook at home. I don't mean everything. By year yam, those things na yezeka staples na yezeka sauces. You're already adding salt to your stews and your soups. So why do you still want to add salt to your yam, your plantain, especially ripe plantain? When the sauce already has salt. Just bear in mind there, without adding salt, whatever you are eating contains more than you need anyway. What's the American assistant Agnes? So yeah, that's just one of the things I needed to highlight. Whether we add salt at home or not, we are eating in excess already. Okay, so let's try and cut down on.
Take away one night and then one take away beer 1 night 3 nights we did take away ni na ti anu so ya yen hwe ne kakra was abrofo ni ya onu da bia wo di wie no kofi a won di ne ma bebre sa ko salad na de aguso ti o mo ko di take away 99 shift for no so mo ma yen hwe e de but udi akire na so mo ye because they are always doing the night shift and they are ordering takeaway, you also do it. When they go, mind you, most of the time their food is the green food and salad and all things. So they will have to take away, but they will reduce it. But how many of us do eat salads?
Yeah, yes. So I've just had a reminder to talk about how we can also reduce, because that's sort of thing. How we can reduce our intake slowly. It's hard for people who have eaten salt all their life. It's really hard for us to just obeying to me because all her life. But then I read somewhere that it takes about just 21 days, for people to get used to a new, should I say taste, it has to do with your taste buds, and you've gotten used to something for so long a time. So if you gradually decide, let's start with the staples. I want something that is practical. If you gradually decide, there's also another type of salt known as potassium chloride. And it doesn't have the sodium, and also it's recommended for people. But if you can't get access to that, start by cutting it. If you were using 1 teaspoon of salt for your rice, cut it down to half. With time, after 21 days, you probably get used to the new or the acquired taste. Your taste buds will get used to it. Yeah, Daniel, is there something you wanted to add to the taste bud thing?
I think me, myself personally, I decided to stop eating sugar. For the first week, adult. But later it became like when I'm drinking, I don't feel like there's no sugar. So as you're saying, I'm really confident that it will take a time, but later you realize that when you are having it without the sugar, but the first time it's like, hey, what do I do? But gradually, I can just have the tea without the sugar. So I think we will also try and work out with the salt.
Yeah. And then all those our salty fish, the Kobe and we are telling people cut down on salt intake, and we are telling people that we have no control on the food environment. Oxygenic environment. Apart from Yankasa, environment due to globalization, we cannot control the unhealthy environment. Or no, beyond us, or we are faced with all these challenges. We are making it worse for ourselves by now going to look for salted fish and salted meat, when already now the foods you are buying are unhealthy. Okay, so yeah, we need to salted fish, salted meat. Still, you want to use it to cook soaking in soup, not salting in free honum. Alternatively, just use fresh fish or fresh meat. I really don't know why people are bent on salty meat, salty fish. Think about the
question. Is also drinking tea, coffee, etc. during night shift. Please advise.
So the tea, coffee itself, it's not a problem. It is the sugar you put in there. Tea, coffee actually has some stuff that are good for us, known as flavonols. These are good for the body. So if you're drinking tea, you're drinking coffee, a few cups of tea or coffee a day, it's fine. Or in the night, it's fine. The problem is people from our communities, we don't know how to take these things without sugar. Most of us. If you're taking it without sugar or very little, remember, even sugar too, we have the recommendation. So that is where the problem is. In a day, it's about 9 cubes. And again, it is not the added sugar that is 9 cubes. It's sugar from everything else. And almost everything you eat, including your fruits and vegetables, have sugar. Okay, so how do you know you haven't exceeded what you need for the day? So the problem with the tea and coffee would be the probability that you might be taking too much sugar. But if you are one of these white people, because all the people I work with, they don't add sugar to their tea and coffee. And when I came to this country, to be honest, it was hard because I'm not used to taking tea and coffee without sugar. A lot of us are not used to that. Okay. Yeah. So if you are the type who always has to put 1 teaspoon of sugar in your tea and coffee, and you take so many cups, then you are creating a problem for yourself. Okay. So if you are not adding the sugar, or you're really adding very
creative. Thank you.
Yeah. And having said that, I might talk about sugar another time, but I need to say this here. Replacing sugar with honey doesn't mean you are going to be safe. Sugar and honey, the way the digestion occurs in the body is the same. I don't want people to say that, okay, because you say we should cut down on our sugar, I'm going to be taking excess intake of honey, excess intake of sugar will give you the same problems. So don't say
honey from back home. We have the pure one.
Yes. Yeah. You cannot say you are cutting down on sugar and replacing it with honey and take it in excess. No, I know people. That's a myth. It's a myth out there that we need to debunk. No, you cannot take excess honey. You can just take a bit of honey. Make sure you are within the recommendation for sugar. Don't take excess with the intention that honey is healthier than sugar. No,
if we add sweetener, what about the sweetener?
Yeah, sweetness tend to be of lower calories. But again, personally, when I'm giving recommendation, I tell people that because there's been some research in the past that has shown that because people think that sweetness are better, and some of them indeed have lower calories, Minty, people tend to just then eat and eat and eat. So there's been a link between the intake of sweetness and obesity. Only because people tend to, because you think Diet Coke has low calories, then you just keep drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. Into honest one hunsun. Into BBN advice in moderation. In moderation.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I
I've said enough.
I think so. We have some few minutes left. I'll go back to something that Auntie Agnes mentioned about salads, and then also link it to the food environment. So how many Ghanaians or how many African Americans can afford the good food, the salads, the nutritious ones? That's a question. Healthy foods are quite expensive. That's what we should know. And him say the migrants are mostly the low socioeconomic groups. Depending on about it was for option with monthly remittances and all that. If the person wants to eat salad all the time, how often and how much? If it's already prepared salad, that's even worse. That's more expensive. And if you have to prepare the salad on your own, the time that it takes. But these are the things that are healthy. What I believe in is how do we go around all these challenges? Because Dr. Hiba said the environment itself. When you go out, what do you meet? The end of the guys and the first, you any buying any supermarket, what foods are readily available and cheap for you to buy, because you need to save money to go and do something back home. You cannot afford the salads, which are more expensive. But that is also the healthy ones. Even when it comes to foods like sardines and all that, there are different types. Sardines, some are made with different oils. That the oils are unhealthy with so much salt. You have sardines that are made with olive oil and good oils that are more expensive. But of course, the end Alberto, what would you buy? You are an African migrant, low economic status. One guy's away night job, pay it's a tax, saying a becca. No one sardine and the board buying the healthy ones. So our choices of healthy foods is always restrained because of our low socioeconomic status. And that is when we need to talk about support. It's a bit to say like the opinion leaders in our community, anti-agonists, no one independent sitting in our communities, and what help can we give to our own people? Yes, so that's what I'm So I think that when you say and saying Dr. Hiba, episode or consult like a boa Ghana for more a foot or a DM, but I say you're taking a bit high. You're going to say, bet me up what Ghana for now, or more you muno, boa on Nisika some form crab. You did your air basa, Ubana only crata, on to me go and cost, to me, actually, because these are the ones that are mostly affected. Because I want to me and talk the good foods empty. And that is the problem. So poverty is economic status is very key in all this.
Yeah, what problem be? It would be what problem be a bus stigma. COVID by baby or charity almost me boa, but ni padi be kwame ya kasa bia wakwaji aduane ni benunti no. Onko kra. Until we have that mentality. Yeah, there's so many places. Charity work, bibi. Would the back to us, put the back to her. But a lot of people will not do it because Rebecca said they are cost radia nabi. This way I buy a diama free. It's your problem.
Me in Chawano, me research I about 5 years ago actually confirmed it. Me share that Ghana for Kasai. Na me bisa hon there. Into when you there were Freddy be food bank or into say a buying own situation this morning say opedo or boa be kwaje What's it? No. You know, they said no because of just what you are saying. What I'm trying to say is that I've actually researched into that, and then that was just what the findings. People said there's too much stigma. Ghanaians talk a lot, and that they would not go and queue. It's not part of our culture to go and beg for food. See, you're not begging. You are living in the UK. Maybe you're paying tax, or even if you're not paying tax, and especially COVID nearby. This time they actually found first. Not one of the excuses was that the foods there were not culturally appropriate, which I understood because the food there were not food that Ghanaians like or Africans like. Now they have taken this into consideration and they are providing us with yams, with plantains, with so many things that we want, and yet people still feel, maybe we as a community need to change. I don't blame the people who are embarrassed to go. It's because we talk too much. Then it becomes a topic for discussion. They sit there and then discuss them. And now you're lazy, and now you're bibisa. So we the Ghanaian community, we the African community, the Black community, need to change our mindset about these things. And yet it's not disgraceful to seek for help. Wow, it will make us go for healthy foods rather than staying out your corner and going to buy things that are unhealthy, because unhealthy foods, they are cheap. Look what £10 are a best sold for the whole week. You can buy unhealthy foods, unhealthy meat, unhealthy stuff. Okay, and see, that is why we talk about these things, and that's why we share some of these findings. It's all so that
you are suffering. That person is not suffering. But those who were able to go, some of them had a lot of things, baby food, pass, and all those things. They had it for free.
And then you sit there and say that people will talk about you, so you won't go on. At the end of the day, when you get sick, we don't pray for that. But yeah, that's what you're looking for yourself.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So in conclusion, what are you leaving us with, please?
Dan, you go first.
Okay. So I think we've said a lot about cardiovascular diseases, about and most importantly about culturation, cultural changes, and then we've shown culture is good, but there are some aspects of our culture that will not help us in our living in Europe, even in our living in Ghana. Some aspects of our culture need to change. So once we are in Europe, what are we adapting? What are we adding on to ourselves? What are we giving away? Because we've traveled for a long distance to be here to work, to get money to feed our families. Our health is super. It's superior to anything. If we are alive, that's when we can achieve all the goals and aims that we hope for. So the lifestyle that we've been hit on, these lifestyles lead to atherosclerosis and lead to cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, and all that. And we all know the consequences of these diseases on us. So smoking, alcohol, salt intake, and all that we've mentioned, we should try as much as possible. If you want to adapt lifestyles, let's adapt the good ones: exercise, healthy eating, and then perception of the people. That's something that we also need to work on, to touch on at some point. The way you're dreaming more, and the can't say the Ghana for concern, a culture kind of home. Are we still going to live with them concern and then let people suffer? We should change. Why should you come to Abuja and still be doing concern? Because you are on a no man's land. This is where we help people to achieve their aims, but it's not where we come to talk about people and then let them suffer. So stigma and all that, stigmatization and all that, they all have effect on our stresses. So it makes it difficult for people to be able to integrate properly and smoothly, and therefore leave them with stress, which have consequential effect on our health. You can say be brave. You can say papa. Lifestyle no yen fa papa na ewom no. You see about to say we hunting ye fum aduane no. Ye fum an say ye to de enye no anadwo anapa wie nwumre na ye di because ha na ebuso. No, anybody yanya say did guma. Na ye man so I'll add a little bit on that. Yen sure mu ye pa. Yen hwe de omu choose so the choices they are making. Let our eyes be on them, because any more fault ahuchirim them na be different. Me want to different very different. When they ba make make some fufu make us ready. Say fufu ya mama if fufu is healthier, or and as enough to make a decision. Fufu ya mama make me drop fufu half a salad. we almost so. Your fan a year man and answer man, ice cream na man, potato chips na man de bia, keep fillet no money in chin and man de bia. Yen also say a cheromo. Almost what thing, and any say children born here that are difficult to control, but let's use all other means that we can to help them make the right choices. I think I'll leave it to Dr. Hidman about time was up. Yeah.
Yeah, the little I also add to it is that, you know, when you touched on the salad, I also want to tell people that, you know, we are not saying let's drop our traditional food. No, you can still eat your fufu. Okay, the last time I explained the Eat Well guide, you know, it's about how you eat it, how you combine it. Okay, don't go around eating one large, you know, the portion size, the fufu, the amount of fufu that, you know, the size of fufu you eat. No, exactly. And on a year come once no. If you are not the salad type now, here you still need the fruits and vegetables. You could eat the vegetable in a different way. And we have so many when you used to abroad for vegetables now, which we still encourage them because it's kind of sometimes if you're price never formed. You know, people should learn how to eat new vegetables. But if you want to eat our own vegetable, it's also still fine. It will say you didn't more. You cut 5 portions a day now. Who would contomre ne ana contomre na garden exile must you endorse wo plate no do ma yenye 6-7 slices of yam ne ya fa fry kakra bi omboa he so I wanted to add that to it, that as much as ye kasa lad wasem no yen ka de yenja hezi banzi no totally. It is how you combining. It's what we put on the plate no on na ye emphasize it and number no ya ba bruchi ntine yezi number no. It is linked to cardiovascular diseases and other lifestyle diseases. And number been on Boahin. Last year explaining about how much or the easy 70 grams, 90 grams maximum for Imbenyifu. Easy 100 grams every day. You stand a chance of getting heart diseases. Okay. Now, finally, the reason why I did BIA Academy seminar in there, research actually there. The only way you're able to reduce the burden of heart diseases and then other lifestyle diseases is to promote a healthier lifestyle. That is the only way you're able to cut down the prevalence. You'll be reducing. You will be, and will be. And the only way is to promote a healthier lifestyle, which is all the stuff we've talked about, particularly the food, physical activity, sleep, and then water. We cannot end by touching on water. Your 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, and let's reduce the sugary drinks. The Coke, the Fantas Coke, containing about 12 cubes of sugar. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one can of Coke. And so here, recommendation for a day. 9 cubes of sugar. But Coke, imagine if you are drinking Coke every day, or if you are drinking it like twice or 3 times a week, you're going way beyond the recommendation. Now, that 9 cubes, I always want to remind people in there, it is not additional sugar, no. Some of that sugar, it be free, it's buying a reason. So you cannot actually visualize it, okay? You are getting those things, the same with salt. You are getting it from all other sources of, all other foods. It's yes, ready. You pede you reduce the damn problem you here commuting. You pede you basus will be nebi. You pede you be nebi. It's not you emphasizing there. You invest in our cells, our nutrition, in our health. Damna ye na you too in nature. Yeah, that must say.
Moderation. The queer boat any the group or more dear the for 12 years and for the past years. Moderation like then next year TB. I was saying, Timmy, some mindset of changing it because of our health. Because of our health. Let's do that. That's the only thing we can also help the community by educating them. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Boateng, all the way from Amsterdam. And then Dr. Araba Habib Hiba when you have time on Nyame won hyira mo na omo amanate mbia so betimi aba na Yes, so the betting the aboa Ghana for. Viewers, we thank you all for watching. Please share the video and educate somebody as well. That will be a gift of life. You saving somebody. So please share the video. Let it spread so that our own they will not die and we say, oh, he now showing you know or child will be here and secretly.
Yes.
Now come on, that one that will be yellow and you know Dr. Martin Luther King said, thank you so much. I really appreciated your time and everything. And all viewers, I say happy weekend. So we'll see us in the next, not next week, the other one. You will see us with another program all about our health. So thank you and bye-bye for now.
Bye. Thank you for having us.
Bye.